All right, guys. So we're talking about 3.6 notes. These are linear inequalities. So you guys have seen these all before last year. So this shouldn't be new to you guys. So again, we are starting to, see stuff that we've seen in the past, and so we have to recall that information. We will spend a little more time on these just to make sure that you guys do remember everything. But remember, with an inequality, the only thing the difference is we have these greater than, these less than, these greater to, or equal to, or less than, or equal to symbols. All right. And all of you guys done this at least freshman year. If not, some of you guys did this freshman and sophomore year. So when we graph these, we really need two things to show. We need to show where our zero is, and we need to show where our number is. The number that I'm talking about is the one that is listed up above. All right. And now we just have to graph. We have to show where the shading is. Now, the shading always comes from where the mouth is eating the number. So this one says x needs to be greater than -3. So whenever we have these symbols, we use an open circle. And whenever we use these, we use something called a closed circle. All right. So we're going to have an open circle at -3. Now we need to decide, are we going towards larger numbers or smaller numbers? Well, x is greater than, right? So we want to go to the greater numbers, and so we're going to highlight this way. All right. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and do this one. Again, I'm going to start with my 0. I'm going to show my number 2. If you wanted to put more numbers in there, you could. 1, -1. I have, this is going to be a closed circle at 2 because it is less than or equal to, because it's one of these two symbols. Right? And this time we want x to be less than 2, right? Because x is the smaller number. Our Pac-Man, or whatever you want to call it, or alligator, some of you guys might have heard before, but this symbol always wants to eat the larger number. So it's showing us that it's eating the 2. So what numbers are less than 2? Well, everything this way is less than 2. All right, there we go. So those are just graphing simple inequalities. The next thing we have is our and our or statements. And again, these were a little trickier, if you guys recall these. Our or statements always show that it says or. Notice that. Our and statements is when we have two inequalities. Notice that we have two inequalities here, but it's all written as 1. So it's telling us that -3 is less than x and it is less than or equal to 1. Okay, so this time we actually have to show both the 1 and the -3. So I'm going to put my 0 on here. I'm going to show my 1 on here. I'm going to show my -3. So now I'm just going to focus just on this first part. Okay, I'll erase this, but I'm just going to focus just on graphing that, just like I did on the first two, right? So I want -3 to be less than x. So I'm going to, right here, I have an open circle. And I know that x is going to be greater than. Notice that x is going to be greater than. We want bigger numbers, so we're going to highlight this way. Now I'm going to go to green. I'm going to focus just on this piece. Okay. And now I have 1, and I'm going to have a closed circle at 1. And x needs to be less than or equal to 1. So that's going to go this way. Now with the and statement, these are the black area is the only solutions because it has to be true for both of them, okay? So this green line over here would hold true for this side. This red line over here would hold true for this side. But the overlapping part is what holds true for both for the entire inequality. So that is your answer. We'll practice more of these. Today we're going to practice mostly ones like 1 and 2 on IXL. Number 4, this is an or statement. And I like to think ors is like a boat because typically if you have a boat, the oars on a boat are on the outside, right? So like you're rowing a old school boat, that's how this works as well. So we're going to have our -3. And you'll see what I mean in a second. You'll have your 5. You have your 0. Okay, let's graph just the red part first. We'll just do this part. So negative 3x, we see our symbol there is going to be a filled in circle. X is less than or equal to negative 3. So less than is this way. So we want smaller numbers. Now we're going to go over here to our 5, which is going to be an open circle because there's no line under it. Open circle, which you can look up here, right? Open circle. And x is going to be greater than. So those are the greater numbers. And see how or has the two ors going out to the sides? So you can kind of draw your boat in right there. Right, and there's our ors. Right, so ors almost always go out like that, and ands are almost always going to highlight in the middle. There's 2 exceptions, which we will get to at some point. But ors outside and in middle. All right, so now lastly, we have 5 and 6. 5 and 6 are just multi-step inequalities where we have to solve both sides. Okay, I'm going to do 6. 5 will be a challenge for you guys to try. Actually, we're not going to do 6 at all because we're not going to deal with negatives yet. All right, so I'll go ahead and solve this one for you guys. Again, we want to bring our x to the other side, so we're going to subtract x and subtract x. So then we're left with 3x plus 72. So notice how we're solving this just how we would if there was an equal sign. The only difference is there's an inequality sign. Right. I'm going to run out of room here. Minus 72 from both sides. So our next step is to isolate that x. So we want to move everything away from it. I'm going to move that down here. So now we have 3x is less than. Notice our symbol still has not changed, right? Is less than. Let me grab my calculator really quick. 108 minus 72. And that is 36. So now we know 3x is less than 36. Last step is to always, always, always divide by the number in front of the variable, which is 3. So then you get 36 divided by 3, which is 12. So you have x is less than 12. So that was a lot of work, but all that is a multi-step problem, guys. And you guys have done that before with an equal sign. The only difference is we have an inequality now. So we go to graph our 0, graph our 12. X is less than 12. Okay, it's x is less than. There's our symbol, so we use that. X is less than 12. We have an open circle at 12, and we're going less than. All right, so those are our notes for today, guys. Use this to help you on the IXL. The IXL is going to deal with only types of 1 and 2. Just practice graphing, okay? We'll get to these other things more at a later time. All right, that's all I got for you.